I'm super passionate about helping small businesses because I just feel that you don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success, and having your own business is another one alongside education.
Welcome to the Zeducation Podcast, where it's all about helping people and organizations unleash their greatness. Hosted by me, Pasitawa Haufano, and my brother.
That's me, Kalolo Haufano.
The Zeducation Podcast features lively discussions.
When they share it, you see that they're beginning to feel empowered.
My heart, it's full of pride for me to be at Maitai Samoa.
As well as tips on leadership and business by some of the top minds and influencers around the world.
You don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success.
Welcome to the Zeducation Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another Zeducation Podcast with the mission to unleash the greatness of people, particularly learners in education. My name is Kalolo Haufano, and I am one of the directors of Zeducation, and I'm very grateful to be here to interview Whitney Steel. So I'm going to share a bit of a background to Whitney Steel before we get into it. So Whitney Steel is a passionate and a driven individual wanting to help more people get into the tech space. Whitney went to study a business degree majoring in marketing and international business at Auckland University of Technology. She then went on to get her honours degree, we get it, first class honours in international business, while simultaneously studying Spanish at the same time. You're just super smart. She then went on to study, she also went to live in Mexico and lived for around 10 years in Melbourne, working for major organizations like Swinburne University of Technology, La Trobe, University of Melbourne, some big companies, working on global marketing roles within those respective organizations. She also started her own business called Thornbury Candle Co., selling unisex home fragrance online. And now she's currently back in Aotearoa, having moved back to New Zealand 2020, and now works as a marketing automation lead at Xero. What an awesome resume, my friend. I'm just going to say that.
Wow, that's well researched.
I had to stalk your LinkedIn. The beauty of social media, right? Welcome to our podcast.
Thank
Whitney.
you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I just want to say, for those listeners that are listening to us, I first met you on TikTok.
Embarrassing.
Not embarrassing. The algorithms were just on point because I am a big believer of getting more people into technology. So, here I am casually scrolling through my FYP. For those that don't know what FYP is on TikTok, it's for your page. So you just kind of like a news feed. And then I see this beautiful wahine toa here talking about the importance of technology and why more people need to get into tech. And then I like this random Polynesian guy messaging you in the comments. Oh, hey, could you add me? Could I have you on the podcast? I was just very, very inspired just by the couple of videos that I watched. So I'm grateful to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. Don't worry, it wasn't random at all. I actually get quite a few people like, can I hit you up? Can I email you? So it's all good.
Oh, so it means a lot. I feel special then. I'm like a needle in a haystack that you said yes to. Well, hey, I just want to ask a simple question first and foremost. Tell us your story.
Where do I start with that? So mid-30s, COVID brought me home just like everyone else. Got sick of I thought to myself, why am I in Melbourne when I'm so far away from my whānau? So that's what brought me home. I never thought I'd come back to New Zealand, to be honest. But I actually worked my entire career basically in the education sector, like working for universities. When I graduated uni, all I wanted was a job that paid me to travel. That's all I cared about because I just wanted to get the hell out of New Zealand at that point. And I'm like, but I couldn't afford to travel off my own pocket. So I'm like, let me just find a job that'll make me travel. And so that's what I did for about 10 years is I used to recruit international students for all those universities. And I used to get sent all over the world. But I've always had an interest and passion for technology. Like I've always been into like the latest gadgets, always been up with the play. And I've always been like one of those early adopters of like social media, even though now we're millennials, like we're the old ones.
Yes, the Bebo days.
The Bebo days. Like I've always been like the early adopter of things. And I've always just had an interest in like software and technology. So I'd always had a deep voice like, even at uni, I was like almost going to take IT as a major in my business degree. But then I was like, I want to go on exchange. I want to go overseas. Let me take international business. That was what I thought in my 17-year-old mind. But yeah, and then now it took me a while to get back to the area that I always kind of knew was my calling. But here I am. But yeah, I'm very well traveled. So I'm really grateful for that.
Wow. And the fact that you have a background in business, majoring in marketing and international business, you go out and you fulfill this dream that you have of traveling the world. Well, you lived in Mexico, you lived in Melbourne. I'm really interested to know, like when was that pivotal moment? Like you were interested in tech, but when was that moment when you realized, well, actually, I'm going to strive and go for like this new tech role?
It was actually probably 6 years ago, because I was about 30, and I know this is going to sound really entitled, but I got sick of traveling because I was going to the same places over and over, and it just kind of became boring because in my early 20s, it was awesome. I could back it up. I could go out and party, when I'd be in LA. But as I started to get older, I would just find myself staying in the hotel room. So I'm like, what am I doing if I don't even really enjoy it anymore? So that's when I tried to get out of the education sector at that time. This is probably going back 6-7 years, and get into a marketing role. And no one would give me an interview at all because I just didn't have that outside education experience. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to need to figure out a different way. So let me try and segue out of education by moving into a role in what I want, but in the education sector. So that's when I got a job at Melbourne Uni, that's where I started moving into like CRM system, because I was in charge of sending out all the email, would send out lots of email comms to try and convert students to accept their offer at university. And that's where I started getting grounding in marketing automation and CRM systems. So it was like a segue. I had to segue into a different role in education in order for me to fully get out. So it took a while, but I finally got there.
Wow, so super strategic.
Yeah.
Super
It took
strategic.
ages though.
Wow. But what I love though is like there is a stereotype in tech. Like under the umbrella of tech, straight off the bat, there's a variety of options, right? It's kind of like when you want to be a doctor. Well, you can be a pediatrician, you can be a heart surgeon, you can be a family doctor, right? The same with tech, right? You can become a hard coder, like, understand how to code. You can be someone who understands CRM tools, UX design, etc. For those that don't know, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management Systems. So if you think about organizations, they might have a lot of customers or might have a lot of stakeholders, right? Or like accounts. How do you manage the workflow of those things? But here in the CRM tool that you're using, like what kind of CRM tool are you using right now?
At Xero, we use Salesforce, but the platform that I mainly work in is called Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And to be honest, I'm not a marketing cloud expert. Like there's people in my team 1,000 times more technical than I am. I'm quite a novice, actually, to be honest, in the system. But what I do is I basically project manage big marketing automation projects that we're doing. So I would very much consider myself a non-technical person in tech. And I think that's what a lot of I even had the same misconceptions that to be in tech, you need to be a coder and that's it. I'm like, every company has the same functions every tech company has the same functions as any other, the government department. You need sales, you need marketing, you need customer service, you need legal to help you set up contracts and things like that. It's not just a room. It's just like a company full of software engineers. Yeah. And there's such a big misconception that even I had up until like my 30s. So I can only imagine what other people think too.
And you've pretty much just said it's an example of opportunities are endless, because you're saying, okay, there are subgroups of tech that you can get into, not just hard coding fun, no, but even in a tool like CRM, there are sub-specializations as well. Mm-hmm. So you're in the sub-niche of marketing.
Yes.
Which is so interesting, because you're talking about big organizations like Xero, who have millions of customers all over the world.
Yep.
And what you're saying here is you lead like communications around sending out marketing comms via emails or via like I'm interested to know more around what kind of things.
Like what's my day-to-day like?
Yes, absolutely.
So people don't realize that, the easiest way to think about it is email marketing, right? So you're doing a marketing campaign, but we specialize in it's just solely through the email channel. That's it. But what people don't realize is the emails that we get in our inbox. So, we get an email from Hannah's with their blimmin' weekly shoe sales. There's actually heaps of technology that go behind it. So say even like an Air New Zealand is a good example. The emails that they send out, it'll come with your frequent flyer number. It'll come with how many points you have.
Yes.
All of that is there's a lot of technology behind it to make it personalized to you. So at a big company level, you need quite a lot of like programming and technical expertise to actually execute stuff like that. If it's a little small business, you could probably use a system that is, like drag and drop. So you can just bring in content blocks. I'm speaking jargon now. But at an enterprise level, there's heaps of technology that goes behind it in order to like personalize the emails that we get in our inbox. So even to just say "Kia ora Whitney" in an email requires coding.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
Like even to just like make it so. Otherwise, I would say "Hi there." Yeah, but to say "Hi Whitney" requires something what we call personalization. Yeah, and so all those little elements require it's technical. So marketing has become quite technical out of nowhere just because of the introduction of AI and, bots and all these types of things. So what I love about my job is it's a perfect mix of both my strengths, which are actually I'm not. The technical side, as I said, there's people way better than me at Xero that I work with, but I get to do both. So I get I get to wear a marketing hat and a technology hat. And I love being in the mix of both.
That's very, very awesome. I often think of like, okay, so you're telling me I'm opening up my Air New Zealand app and I see how many air points I have right now. There's so much mahi behind the scenes from a tech perspective.
Because think of all the customers Air New Zealand would have. They might have, 2 million customers that we have to bring in 2 million data points into an email.
Gotcha.
Right? Because everyone's going to have a different points balance.
Yes.
Yeah. And to say, "Hi, Whitney," that's one customization. Your points balance, another one. Your Koru membership status, that's another one. That's 3 data points required for 2 million customers. That's 6 million data points. Yeah.
Oh, just hearing those stats and just hearing technology right now, like, and how it's all become so automated. At a customer level, it almost feels very simple. Technology is supposed to feel like that.
But that's when it's doing a good job, because as a customer or as someone receiving the email, what does it matter to you how technical it is? Just give me what I want to know.
Bruh.
Yeah. But so that's if it seems simple and you don't even think about it, that means we're doing a good job. But half the time there's always areas to improve.
Yeah.
Customers want to just receive what they want to know. They don't want to hear anything else, and that's fair enough. So it's our job to customize it to customize the emails that you get to exactly what you want and nothing more. And getting to that point is difficult.
Yeah.
And especially the bigger the company.
If this is an example, please tell me if this is something that's similar to what you're doing.
Sure.
So I now get Spotify half price through my Spark plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on a full price plan paying through my card. But for me to transition over, I had to cancel my Spotify plan in order for me to go into this plan. What happened is when I canceled my Spotify plan, I got these automatic emails saying, "Sad to see you go." And then like 3 days later, 50% discount if you come back in. And it almost seems very automated. Is that similarly what you do?
It is. It's called a win-back flow.
Oh, bro.
Yeah. It's called a win-back flow. So what it would be is they will have something that they will have a flag. So if someone cancels their subscription, it'll trigger something in the system to say, "Oh my gosh, this customer's leaving us. What can we do to try and retain them?" And so they will build out a series of emails to say, "Hi, we're sorry to see you leave." Then if that doesn't work and you don't resubscribe, then it will send another trigger to say, send them a 50% off discount code. And then eventually, if you did nothing, you'd stop hearing from them. But yes, that was 100% automated, and that was called a win-back flow. Yeah.
Honestly, I bet you there's going to be some people that are listening to this podcast who are probably excited. It's like, I want to, especially rangatahi, I'm going to go hard on my STEM subjects so I can go hard and, and get into these spaces right now. How awesome for them to, it just sounds very interesting and very exciting to get to be in this kind of space.
You don't need STEM.
You don't need STEM.
No way.
Thanks for correcting me. That's only for hard coding, right?
That's only for hard coding. There is, it's such a broad area, marketing in general, even in tech. There's product marketing now. Like, what is product marketing? It's so different. So I would always suggest if you're wanting to get into email, let's just call it email marketing. Marketing automation makes it sound really techy, and when it doesn't have to be. It's if you can come in with digital marketing experience. That's probably the most fundamental part of it. But there's lots of different career pathways. You can be a more technical person. So people in our team, they will understand like 2 programming languages. One is called SQL, one is called AmpScript. I wouldn't even know how to use them. I probably have to learn, but at a basic level, that's their job. My job is to figure out what content goes in the email. Like what are our customers wanting to hear? What do we need to personalize to make it a great experience for them? So I'm more on the customer voice of customer side. So there's heaps of different pathways. You can be more technical or you can be more the marketing side.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah, but I failed both maths and science in high school. Yeah.
Interesting.
Failed badly. Yeah.
That just testifies that getting into tech is not just the stereotypical pathway of being good at STEM subjects.
No.
Right?
I mean, you were an accountant.
Yes.
You came from accounting and got into tech.
Yes, that's really interesting. Yeah, but it's interesting. In the tech space, working at Xero, I had trained accountants how to use tech. So I was more on the educational side. So we're very similar kind of career trajectories around education. We're so passionate in helping unleash people's greatness. But next minute, here we are talking about tech.
Yeah.
You know what?
Exactly.
Speaking of tech, there's this new social media wave of TikTok being like what's Facebook? Instagram who? But you have TikTok coming about. You currently have thousands of followers. I don't know exactly,
10.9.
10.9 thousand
Not
followers.
too bad.
Not too bad for someone that just started recently.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of it, honestly, is from your charisma, and you're just such a very loving and empathetic person when it comes to creating videos. I'm just going to say that hands down from a person that observes you from afar.
Thanks.
TBH.
Yeah.
But on top of that is your passions around technology. Explain to us how you got into that. Like what clicked for you to say, you know what, I'm going to open up a TikTok page and really push for more people to get into tech?
Honestly, I never talked about it for a long time because I thought, who would want to hear about my job, or who would want to hear about career stuff? Like, wouldn't that be the most boring content ever on TikTok? But I noticed that every time I used to, like back in the day, I used to talk about email marketing for small businesses that's why I joined Xero, is because I'm super passionate about helping small businesses, because I just feel that you don't necessarily need a degree these days. There's so many pathways to success, and having your own business is another one alongside education. So I used to talk about email marketing, and they would just get views, and I'd get heaps of questions, and I was thinking, like, people care about this? Like, I was so shocked because I was thinking people want to know like my daily vlogs, and I would try all these things of what I thought people wanted to hear from me, and it would do really bad. But then I'd be talking about email marketing or how to improve digital marketing in your business, and I would get heaps of engagement. And that's when the penny started to drop for me. I'm like, maybe people have been wanting to know about this stuff, but they don't know who to ask, don't want to feel dumb. So I was like, let me just test it out and see if I talk a little bit more about my career and getting into tech. And it just started to blow up, and people would just ask me more questions. And then I started to realize there's so many people that were like me that had so many misconceptions about getting into tech. You need to be a coder, you need to be really good at maths and science.
Next minute, you just changed that mindset for a lot of people.
And then I was like, everyone's got the same misconceptions I had. Let me just talk about it more. And then now it's just gotten so much bigger. Like, people actually follow the advice. It's become a bit scary. I recommended people to do a certain Google digital marketing course that's fully free. I say if you're wanting to segue into a career in marketing automation, it is really important to have that grounding in marketing basics, but you don't need to go to uni for it. You can just do a really good course online. And people have hit me up in the comments. Like, I can probably count 10 that have done the course and completed the exam. So I'm like, oh God, this is serious, because people are actually clinging on to what I say in my TikToks. So that's how it started, really. It was an experiment. It was an experiment to see, do people really care about this? And I've noticed that they do. And so now it's a really big, because I'm in a non-technical career in tech. So it's really important for me to help break down those silos so people don't have to wait till they're 35 like I was to figure out that there's heaps of different pathways you can take. And if you want to, you don't have to be super technical.
Yeah. Preaching the tech gospel.
Yeah.
TikTok obviously has this, people assume that it's only for young kids, like early teens up to,
what are you trying to say? I'm just kidding.
I'm very interested to know how many people that are commenting, liking your posts. What's the average age range?
I find, because I watch it really closely, so I can tell that there's probably two camps. There's like the really young ones that may be still in high school or like early, like 20 or under, and they're trying to figure out how to get into tech from the get-go. And I love that. So the Gen Zs, right? So there's the one like they're wanting entry-level jobs, but they want to work remotely. That's one probably audience I have. And then the second will be people like me who have always had a
conversions,
career changes. So probably 30s, early 40s who are similar, and they're like, I've been a builder for 12 years. I want to spend more time with my kids. I don't want to be on site anymore. I want a job there. How can I do that? And so it's probably falls into those two camps of really young ones like wanting to be like, I'm never going to go to an office. And I'm like, you do you, boo, and you don't have to. And then the career changes.
Wow. And you know what's interesting? It's still a problem existing in New Zealand today. Thousands and thousands of tech roles, and we can't fill them. And we got government strategies to try and get more immigrants to come in and solve that issue. But we need local educational support as well. So how do we upskill our rangatahi? And I would say, Whitney, you are a voice in helping change people's mindsets. Because if you think about it this way, education, I've learned, is eternal in the sense that you don't know how large your influence is. You might put one video in and someone's probably already actioned it. That's going to help their family have more food on the table. It's going to help them build intergenerational wealth. Their mokopuna, their future generations are all going to be influenced just by those decisions. But how powerful it is to be in a day and age that we have this, it's a good problem. We just need more people to get into it, right?
Yeah, 100%. I realized through the content that's landing and people asking me heaps of questions and stuff that there's a gap between people that work in tech in the tech world and then just your everyday average people. Someone needs to help them connect the dots. So for me, that's probably one of my skill sets, and that's why I got into marketing automation, because I'm constantly trying to connect the dots between translating this really technical stuff into normal language that people understand. So that's probably my sweet spot. So that's probably why I've gravitated towards doing that and helping break down those myths in a really easy, understandable way, e.g. TikTok, using TikTok trends to break down those myths of like non-technical careers. You don't need maths and science. You don't need to learn how to code to get into tech. You can come straight out of high school and start working remotely. You don't have to settle for going into an office job. So yeah, that's probably...
All I would say is just keep doing it, honestly. Just keep growing the influence because it's only in the beginning stages. Other problems that exist in the industry are, you have 6% Māori represented in the tech ecosystem, 2.8% Pasifika from recent stats, 23% are women.
So 23% of those 4% and 2.3% are women.
Well, in general,
Yeah.
overall, I think 23% in general are just women.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So, but imagine being a woman that's Indigenous, either Māori Pasifika. That's even more of a lower statistic. These are issues that a lot of people are trying to solve right now because we need more diversity. and absolute inclusion as well. What do you think? I know it's one of those big over generalized questions, but what do you think are some like ways in which we can help solve that issue?
It's a really good question, and it is obvious when you take a look at the New Zealand tech industry as a whole. There aren't a lot of brown faces that I've seen in my time since being back in New Zealand, especially at a senior management level. It's really becomes glaringly obvious then. How would I solve that? I think a lot of it is where we're quite similar in that we're quite humble. I actually also think we cancel ourselves out too early. So we might have those. For me, it comes back to those myths. There's probably two facets to it. So one, we don't think we can because we don't want to code, or we're not good at it. We didn't pass science and maths, and so we kind of already we haven't even entertained the idea to begin with, like from ourselves. And two, it needs to be something that really struck me when I started at Xero was our director said to me, because I started remotely, right? So, and I worked from home for 5 months before I ever went into the office. And I noticed that our like head of digital, which is our big boss, she used to use quite a lot of Māori words. And so I messaged her and I said, "Oh, thank you so much. I really noticed it and appreciate it." And then she said, "Oh, once you come into the office," she goes, "I just hope that you know that you can bring your whole self to work." And that really struck me. Like when she said that, I was really taken back. Because one, I had been away for 10 years, so I haven't caught up with the New Zealand now. I was still in I have to dumb my Māoriness down mentality of like 10 years ago. And then two, it was hard to describe the feeling that I got. It was like, I can still be my full authentic self working in a Pākehā-dominated tech company. And I feel that sometimes we can be a bit whakamā about wanting to go into these careers and not see our representation around. So I think it's changed. So one, I think we also have to not cancel ourselves out, disqualify ourselves too early from tech careers because we feel like it's science and maths, but also there's a responsibility on companies to allow everyone to bring their whole selves to work so that it's not how am I saying this?
You don't feel isolated.
You don't feel isolated and you don't feel like a minority in the workplace. Yeah. And we have to start having bigger seats at the table at higher levels.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think you'll see organizations now are embedding in more of that inclusiveness, right? At a governance level, they're setting statistics like we need, a higher percentage by X amount of years of more represented within, minority groups, etc. You have companies like Salesforce or Microsoft who are really pushing that zero as well. So there's slow change, and I'm a true believer. Don't just sit there and say that you're diverse, right? Be inclusive as well.
Yeah.
And inclusion
100%.
also helps us grow and to diversify at the top as well.
Yeah.
So
and feel comfortable. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. And I love that. Guys, don't cancel out, lead on those values that mum and dad taught you. Work hard, strive hard and just do your best work and really prove yourself so you can continue to understand the value there is in tech companies. It's going to be more normal in the future.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's space for everyone, no matter what your skill set is. And I know like when these kids come out of high school or they're in uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was at uni. I was just doing what I thought was going to make me money, doing a business degree. But what do we know at 18? Like, how are we supposed to know what we want to do for the rest of our life? But I always say to young people now, like, notice what comes naturally to you. That will give you a hint in what your natural strengths are. Do people come to you all the time for advice? That's a highlight of what you're good at. you know, because I remember being 30 and I was thinking, how do I figure out my purpose? That's why I typed into Google. But I realized eventually that what has come naturally to me outside of work, like helping connect the dots with people, like I'm doing it constantly, trying to translate something in my dad's business, trying to translate it so that he understands his accounting statements. You know, I'm reading some, like when I was trying to help my partner with a visa, I had to like translate what the legislation meant for what would be required in the application. All those types of things. But those are my skills that come naturally to me and they translate into the workplace. So that's what I always suggest to young people is don't think that you don't have any strengths just because you haven't started building a career. Pay attention to what people gravitate towards you for. Do they come and ask you advice? Do they come and ask you to fix things? And that will give you a hint into what your strengths are.
Yeah.
And then you will always end up, that always what you gravitate to in your career, I found.
Yeah. And to believe that you have good skills. You know, we have a culture of imposter syndrome, but man, for example, like I know that I can stand up and influence just by who I am. I'm a good speaker. I'm quite extravagant, so I can keep the energy alive as well. And I know that. That's why I went into roles like as a partner consultant at Xero, because I can stand up in front of thousands of accountants and hundreds of bookkeepers, etc., and train them on how to best use technology. That's my skill set. So I love that you said that. Know what your skills are, lean onto those skills, your values as well, and you will find a place.
100%.
And I forgot too, because with those skills, there is some good shmoney in
There
the tech
is.
space
It's
as well.
very
Let's
good.
go.
And that's what I've talked about. Like, you don't have to be a coder. You know, you can get into product marketing. My friend is the head of product marketing here in New Zealand. She's on megabucks,
Bruh.
like megabucks at 35 years old.
Yeah.
Like life-changing putia, to be honest. Like, and you know, I remember when I had my first job out of uni, I was on like $36,000.
Yeah, and we were like, yeah.
Yeah. You know, rent was a lot cheaper back then.
I know.
Especially in Tamaki.
Yeah, stuff you inflation.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, especially for our Polynesian, our young rangatahi, or even not even, our career changers, people that have had a career and they want to switch over. The money is a lot better, I am going to admit, and they just seem to be a bit more progressive in their values. You know, they're a bit more open to flexible working and, you know, you can have a good career and have a whānau at the same time. It's like you don't have to give up one or the other. That's a big thing for me, is that working in tech gives me the flexibility I crave. I've gotten to the point where, like, yes, money is awesome, but it's not my everything. I don't want to be a slave to a salary because the government's going to take 40% anyway.
Yeah.
So
We get it, you're in the high tax bracket.
No, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
I would much rather have the flexibility to work from home where I can duck out and I can do my washing
Yeah.
between meetings. You know, I could never do
love
that
that.
before. I lost so much of my personal time commuting to an office every day, and I always said to myself, that's such a strong value of mine. I will always prioritize flexible working over salary any day. That's just me personally and what I value in my life.
And even with good money, it builds financial well-being as well. You know, like you'll have enough to provide for your family,
Yeah.
to take them out and do activities on the weekends. So money is not the end goal, it's a means to an end.
It's a means to an end.
And that's what I love about this, like getting more people into high-paying jobs to have better lives and better outcomes. Cool. I've got some fire round questions
All
that I
right.
want to share with you because you're such an awesome individual. I want people to just know you a little bit more. Some 4 random questions. Okay. Number 1, what's your favorite song or album that you're listening to right now, girl?
Oh my gosh. I've gotten to that age now where I don't listen to new music anymore. I listen to all the old stuff that I used to
Me
listen
too.
to.
Hey, me too.
I know, I've reached that age. I'm old now. I'm over the hill. Album I'm listening to right now. I think I always go back to Jay-Z.
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 Can
Yeah.
I get a what?
Yeah. The Blueprint, my favorite album of all time.
Yes.
And I still listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heart of the City.
Awesome.
Best track ever.
Absolutely love Jay-Z. Jay-Z. What is something people often get wrong about you?
Ooh, I think people have this perception, and maybe it's the way I portray myself, that I have this amazing, like, super adventurous life and I'm out doing stuff all the time. I probably have the most boring day-to-day life ever. Like there can be days, especially working in tech. This is something you also got to be mindful of when you're working from home is sometimes I find that if I'm not watching it and I'm not conscious, I don't leave the house for 3 days. I have to make a conscious effort to be on it. So I think, it must be that I'm extroverted or people just think that I'm super adventurous. I was in my 20s, not so much now, but I actually live a really boring life, to be honest.
Oh, hey, I'm the same as well. I'm the same as well. Just go to bed at 8 p.m. No, jokes. Wake up at 4 and just have a cup of coffee. No. Yeah, but there's beauty in nothingness. That's one thing I learned, because especially when you're in your face in front of a screen all day, doing nothing helps increase your mental well-being, right? And just your hinangaro just becomes much more clear.
That's it.
Your favourite food?
I'm Māori. I'm from a whānau of divers, kai moana.
Oh,
all
let's
day,
go.
every day. All day,
Yes.
every day.
Anything specific, like cream
I don't like
power?
crayfish. No, this is gonna annoy people. My whānau, we don't eat crayfish because it was always on the table.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's gonna annoy. I know, but we just don't eat it because my dad and my uncles and my brother will always go out and get crayfish, and I'm just like, I love scallops. Scallops are my favourite.
Oh, that with some good old fried bread.
Yes.
Just freshly cooked. Oh.
Yep.
Okay. I can't talk about this, guys, because I'm trying to lose weight. No, and one last thing, Whitney. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for having my whānau around again after a really long time. Yeah, I think I've probably seen them more in the last 6 months than I had in the previous 10 years. So I'm super grateful for that, even though the living costs are killing me in this country. However, we're all in the same boat, so let's not go down the scarcity mindset. But yeah, let's not go there. But yeah, having my whānau around in close proximity has been something I've missed out on for a long time, and I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Hey, I bought a $12 bag of cheese the other day. Bloody heck. But the cost of living's high in this country, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Hey,
that's why we need tech careers.
We need tech careers, yes. That, or go to your company and say, hey, could you adjust my salary or wages to inflation?
Come on, whānau, come work with us.
Kia ora. It's been a pleasure, Whitney. I'm so grateful to have interviewed you and for you and for people to listen to this podcast and be super inspired. Maybe one last question I want to ask is,
sure.
Anything that you wanted to end off with or share before we finish?
I would the one thing that I love about our people is also sometimes that holds us back is that we can be a bit whakamā of we're a bit scared sometimes to fully shine because we don't want to make others feel uncomfortable or like the tall poppy syndrome is even probably more pronounced in Māori and Pacifica. But I always think that we can, if you just believe in your strengths and just double down and be confident in who you are, no one's ever going to hate you in the long run. You're always going to uplift your whānau from that. So don't be whakamā about who you are or what you're good at. Don't be afraid to be confident and have confidence in your skill set. I'm not. Maybe it's because of my age where I'm like, I know what I'm bad at and I know what I'm good at and I'm not afraid to talk about what I'm good at because that's actually what helps people. That helps me elevate my financial status so that I can actually help my whānau, etc., etc. So don't be whakamā. I wish I had learnt that younger. Yeah.
Don't be whakamā and go hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Whitney. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.